Hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast circle page, where we bring you the finest poetry from the Caribbean region and its diaspora. So, to begin with, I'm going to begin with what is a very popular way of advertising many products in our capitalist society, you know, where everything is commercial and for sale. So, sex sells is what everybody says, right? But this section of my book I titled Eros is not about using sex to sell poems, or poetry for that matter. Far from it, sex is actually being subjected to the literary microscope and recognized in its proper artistic role. Some people may find this section erotic and therefore would not want to do anything with such a book. I say so because in going through a list of potential book reviews the other day, quite a few of them were very, very emphatic and crystal clear where they stood in relation to anything that has to do with sex. As far as they were concerned, it's pornography, period. Not only is it a sensitive issue, but also a controversial and tricky one at that. The line between sex and art is rather thin and even blurry, as demonstrated by the Robin Thicke song. How many of you know that song, by the way? So, how can we tell the difference? And what is the relation between this particular section and the other sections in the book? Aging with Freedom, The Art of Love, and Acts of Defiance. Before I begin to reply to this question, let me explain one thing up front. I am not an expert sexologist or psychoanalyst. And this is not a Freudian expose. However, my position and the position I'm taking is very much influenced by Sigmund Freud and the German radical philosopher Herbert Marcuse. Marcuse, of course, was able to identify the link between revolution and Eros. The section begins with a quote from Marcuse. The psychoanalytic liberation of memory explodes the rationality of the repressed individual. As cognition gives way to recognition, the forbidden images and impulses of childhood begin to tell the truth that reason denies. In other words, it is this powerful, aggressive, sexual energy that is captured in the politics of rebellion, and which is what the fourth section in the book, Acts of Defiance, is all about. Eros is the ancient Greek god of passion. He's also the god of fertility. And this passion is manifested in what we have come to know as sexual energy. For some people, this energy is dominant and openly expressed. But for most of us, it is repressed and kept tightly locked down in our Pandora box. Charles Bukowski, the German-American poet, referred to this energy as demons that we would do better to sit down with and have a chat. You might be surprised at what the devil can do for you, and not so much what you can do for the devil. How many of you are still listening to me? We live in strange times where many things are not what they seem to be. Science has been represented as a pay-to-play truth, with repetition replacing evidence and research to save time and to fill the gap, thus making it much more easy and palatable for the general public. Like creationism, the new science today has evolved into a gap-functioning rule. If we can't explain it or understand it, then just follow the science, as they say. So, coming back to our demons as we grow older approaching our twilight years, we are in a much better position of control over our feelings and desires, though some of us admittedly lose that grip and end up paying dearly for their indiscretion. But what I am most interested in and curiously obsessed about from an artist perspective is the suspended and heightened euphoria that hovers over the borderline. Just as how romantic love is super intensified by rejection, so is this unfulfilled orgasmic sexual state of mind that in its extremity can be perverted and forbidden to the extent of a tree falling in the forest and not being heard by anyone. Does it happen if no one hears it or sees it? The act of consummating the thought or feeling is virtual and hyperbolic as a simulacrum of reality. This is the to be or not to be Shakespearean tragedy of unrequited sexual desire. It is the secret lives of many famous characters in real life. In the case of the great Mahatma Gandhi, his celibacy was reportedly tested by sleeping with naked young girls. From the artist's point of view, however, this celibate posturing is a highly charged moment of inspiration, which is controlled by its own outpouring. Reality is avoided for fear of destroying the purity and perfection of this desperate need. The use of the sexual theme in Eros is symptomatic of our lost freedom during the institutional imprisonment of our younger years. Manifested later in our older years, this repressed longing and titillating wishful thinking remains silently uncovered in most of us. Yet it is actively alive in the imagination of many. Baby boomers, fortunate to be in positions of power and possessing a substantial amount of wealth, are able to exploit this deep-seated desire, preferably and especially with the younger opposite sex. Mind you, this promiscuous or selective behavior is not strictly confined to the older generation. It is evident also among many youths, but nowhere else is it so artfully and surgically executed than by the more matured and financially secured individuals. The worst-case scenario is an abusive one involving children, sex trafficking, and organized pornography. But that is not the path we want to go down in my book. While it is liberating and self-satisfying for us as we grow older, Eros as a powerful source of energy is influenced more by our narcissistic culture than by our moral imperative to develop a humane and just society. We choose to be internally free and masters on the outside at the same time. Okay, so now we come to the part near the ending of my presentation where I read a sample of one of the poems from the section. Incidentally, this is the shortest section of the book for obvious reasons, even though it's an important element in the whole structure of the book and of growing older. The poem I'm going to read is called Lust. Too inspired to capture the intensity of my thoughts. My eyes are drunk. My knees are wobbling with excitement. At any moment, I may crumble before your feet, inhaling the luscious vegetation around me and devouring its pristine leaves. With open mouth, I drink the cascading juices that flow over me, meandering like a river into my empty stomach. I ache with unbridled passion. My hands tremble with desire. My lips yearn to brush your savory nipples, coercing me to reluctantly rise from my dream. So there, So there you have it. Lust, one of the poems from the section Eros. Okay, so, well, before I leave, I just want to say to you, um, fortunately, today this is the weather seems to be very hot, but not so clear, it's still overcast. Um, so, in any event, I want to wish all of you a very delightful Sunday. I hope you enjoy it. Um, Also, before I leave, the last time I forgot to say, please subscribe to our page and click the like button. It's always very rewarding to see that people are showing their support openly, visibly, not silently, not like we say the silent majority. The visible support is what we need. Okay? So thank you all and have a great Sunday.